Seth, tips and tricks for how to manage a remote team.
Well, that's fun. There's no right or wrong way to manage a remote team. You just have to, number one, you have to be patient because they might be working on something that you ask them to do. Because you're remote, you can't go check on them. You can't go into the cubicle and say, how are things going? You can Slack them real fast or Discord them real fast or text them real fast for that matter and say, how are things going? But then you're breaking their train of thought. You don't have the visual. So the best thing to do is to set up weekly meetings in the beginning of the week. I have the Monday check-in. Here's what's on tap for this week. Here's what's going on. And then midweek, I say, how are things going? But then you have to be patient. Then they get back to you. And you just say, get back to me. And like if you're in the middle of something, don't even look. Like finish what you're doing because nothing's worse than breaking your train of thought. That's like the worst thing. But the idea to manage the remote team is have these check-ins and this structure in place so that they know what to expect. Like Seth's going to be checking in on me, see where I'm at Wednesdays. And then Fridays have a end of the week wrap up. It's all about structure, really is what it is. And it's really not that hard. And it's, in my opinion, remote work is better for people because they can get the work done. But then they don't have that commute to get home, where that hour commute to get back to their house, or even that 5-minute commute can be applied to something personal for themselves. So I'm a very big proponent of remote. I know the real estate developers don't like to hear that, especially in Philadelphia, where there's a lot of open office space now. But I think that was one of the benefits, if there was any benefits of COVID, is that we learned how to remote work better.
Right. I think one of the fear of a lot of companies is how do you manage productivity for a remote team? Because where people are in the office, you can see how well they're doing. You can really meet each other and track progress. But when you're running a remote team, it's more difficult to make sure everyone is doing their work. Mm-hmm. Do you have a strategy on how to make sure that productivity isn't slumping from remote work?
My deal with my team is that I don't care necessarily if they work 9 to 5 or 5 to 9. Like, let me know what generally your gist is on stuff, like how you're going to work this week. Like if you have a kid's swim meet in the middle of the day, as long as it doesn't bump into like a client meeting, I don't care if you work around that. Like I'm flexible, like we're remote for a reason. And I want my team to feel like they have work-life balance. They're not stuck in a cubicle all day, 9 to 5. There's something worse being like, all right, I'm done my work, but I had to stay here till 5. Let me go look at Google. So the whole idea is just kind of set up the structure. That goes back to the structure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. Having a good structure is crucial for having a successful remote team. Something that's worked really well for us, and of course we work remotely as well.
Yeah.
For our team, how we manage productivity, how we make remote operation work is we would set at least 5 goals for each person at the beginning of the month. Now, these goals are very specific. Mm-hmm. So number 1, they have to be measurable. They can't just be, get work done. Right? It can't just be finish this project. Ideally, the goal is measurable.
Yes.
And number 2, the goal has to be something that takes more than a day to do. Mm-hmm. So for instance, answering this email should
not take you a whole day.
It really shouldn't take you a whole day. So everyone gets 5 goals that they have to accomplish by the end of the month. So we start with a picture of what success looks like already. Like if you do these 5 things, it will constitute a successful month.
Oh, I love that.
So it doesn't matter how many hours you work as long as you finish your job.
Yeah, that's my whole point. I don't care if people, if they 1 week they're working 20 hours a week. If the work's done, the work's done. Go, you're getting paid. Like work's done. Like go have some time for your family. Go walk the dog. Like mental health is key nowadays, especially when you're working remote. You don't have Joe at the water cooler or Don at the water cooler to chat with. So you kind of need to make sure you go out and walk the dog, take a break, stretch your legs, go out, air your brain out, even go read a book for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't need to micromanage you. If I need to micromanage you, maybe you shouldn't be on a remote team.
Exactly. Yeah. And another thing is for remote teams to be highly successful, a lot of newer companies are doing this already. So this wouldn't be anything groundbreaking for them. But for companies who are not familiar with this, have a good chat software that everyone in your company uses. So we use Slack, but you can use Microsoft Teams. You can use anything really, but make sure that there is a good online communication tool that everyone can be online, quickly chat with each other instead of emailing each other.
Oh, God, email.
I mean, Slack is free, so that's a nice benefit. You can use WeChat, WhatsApp, whatever. As long as there is a good centralized communication hub that people can come in, come out, chat with each other, make groups, share files easily. That's going to help tremendously when it comes to making work from home actually work for you.
Or work from WeWork or work from wherever. Yeah, work remotely. Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing for us is we still have an office. So we have a hybrid model where we work from home most of the week, but we come into the office on Mondays and on Fridays. Mondays is our planning day to figure out what we're going to do for that week. And Friday is our recap day. So we come together. We typically go out together actually at the end of Friday to just figure out what do we accomplish. So sometimes, if you're not ready for remote work just yet, a hybrid model where you go to the office Mondays and Fridays and you work from home Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, that could work better.
I think it's a great idea. My team is spread out. So I have my designers in Brooklyn. My other designer and digital marketer is over just north of me. So we could get coffee a lot easier than my designer. She's up in Brooklyn. But I do like the idea of having a central hub because you're essentially doing what I do with my people on Mondays and Fridays, the check-ins on Slack. Only now you're doing it in person. You're getting some FaceTime, getting some socialization, which is a lot of people don't realize that I love working from home. I love remote work. It's freeing and all that. You are missing out on things being in the office. That we forget there were actual benefits to being in the office. Maybe not 5 days a week. I was pushing it, but having FaceTime with your boss, having FaceTime with your coworkers, going out for a drink on Fridays afterwards, and just getting to know your team. It's very important.
Yeah. Now we're entering the Marketers Gone Wild segment.
I love it.
Seth, how are people doing SEO wrong?
Where does it start? The main way people are doing SEO wrong is that they're not updating their knowledge to what's currently affecting SEO. I constantly see websites. I'm feeling very pained here because I see websites where they put in like, we service these areas. Doylestown, 18902. Like, how's that readable to the human? And Google is very much all about right for the end user. They've always been that way, but back in the past, the computer made more sense to optimize for. Now it's very much right for the consumer, right for your audience, your ICP, or all that stuff. You want to make sure that you don't say we can say you service Bucks County, which, you can say we service Bucks County, Philadelphia. We're based in Doylestown or something like that. You don't have to list out all your towns you're part of. I mean, Chalfont, if anyone's familiar with Bucks County, is 20 minutes west of Doylestown. You'll show up in what's near me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to, and I'm talking to clients about this. I'm like, you don't have to overthink it. Right for the human, right for your ideal customer, and Google will figure it out. Google's been around for a very long time. I think 1998 when they really came online. They know how to naturally language process your stuff.
Speaking of which, 1998, that's actually interesting. Do you remember, Ryan, life before search engines? Like, how were we getting internet?
I do. I remember floppy disks. I'm 42, so I remember floppy disks, the actual 5.5s and the 3.5s,
oh my
where it was like 1 megabyte on a disk.
Yeah, let's stuff done, right. Have you ever seen a floppy disk in person? Really, you've seen?
Wow, probably in the museum.
Yeah. Museums don't count.
No, they still make them. You can still get floppy disks because there's certain technology that still needs them.
Yeah, we're talking like a couple megabytes only. This giant disk that you put into a computer.
I was talking about 1 megabyte, 1.44. I can't believe I remember that. 1.44 megabytes.
You know what's really funny? When I was in elementary school, my school, they would have what's called a computer lab.
I remember this, yeah.
Oh, hold on. When I'm talking about computers yet, we're talking about blue calculators. You guys remember those bad boy? Like the stupid little calculator?
Yeah.
So we go into the computer lab thinking that, anyway, before we even get to the computers, they would teach us how to use all these calculators. And you know what they would say? Back then, true story, every single person, my generation, millennials, we've had this. They would say that you need to learn how to use all the function of the calculator because, no. They'll teach you that. And then they would teach you how to do things by hand.
Yeah.
And then they say that it's not like you're going to have a calculator with you all the time in the future.
Yeah, seriously, they literally, our phones, just think about that. Our phones are more powerful than like computers when we were kids. Computers back then.
Every teacher in my generation owes all of us an apology. You were completely wrong on that one.
What are you going to know? Yeah.
But computers, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
The first computer I ever got, I think it was 96, 97 or something. My family, all right, bought a computer. It was a compact 97 or I don't know, it's really old computer.
Yeah.
And we brought it home. My family had no idea what to do with it.
Finding the on button was hard.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Honestly, I didn't know what to do with it either. And like they thought that it just connects to things and that you could do things with it. It was such a weird time where we didn't know the internet. Yeah.
You dial in a phone number. It's beep, boop, 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 beep, boop.
Oh yeah, that was the internet back then. So like
That's before Ryan's time.
yeah, so we would set up this computer in the living room, and all my family thought that we're going to do something great with it, right? But like we didn't actually know what to do with it. We just thought everyone was buying, because for the first time, computer was commercially available for the regular consumers to buy, and we bought one and had no clue what to do.
They were expensive too.
They were insanely expensive. Yeah, it was like $2,000, $3,000 back then for a computer.
That was insane. And now you can get a decent computer for like $500.
Yeah,
decent. Not something that we could run stuff on. Like we would kill that computer in probably like a week. Our stuff's still around like $2,000 for decent stuff, but you can get a decent computer for a kid for like $600.
Yeah,
now.
But back then, so back to my original question, which is, what was life like before search engine? You know what it was like? I remember this. Grolier. You guys have heard of that? Grolier? Yeah, exactly. So there was Grolier, which was supposedly it's like an online database of things. It was like a website that houses a lot of information, not linked to other websites. That was later Yahoo. Yeah. But back then, you needed to know the web address to specific websites. So what we would do was that exactly, you would have a notebook, right? With all the websites that you go on, like Newgrounds and all these other websites. You would write all these websites down manually.
Yeah, manually. So the teachers weren't wrong in the beginning.
Yep.
You had to learn how to write.
Yep. Everyone, how funny was that? There was no internet. So the search engine was actually your notebook. Oh. The notebook was the first search engine. Everybody had a notebook with a bunch of websites.
And then there was DMOZ. Remember DMOZ?
DMOZ.
It eventually became the Yahoo directory. They bought it. And it was literally a human curated list of links. That was before the search engines too. Yeah. And then the search engines would suck that in. And then they started spiders and all that stuff. And then the rest is history.
Yeah. Oh man. Those were the times.
The good old days.
Yeah. AOL. Remember when they used to send out all those disks and you got to put it in to install the internet? You installed the internet.
You used to be able to use those, format those disks and use them again.
Yeah, I know, right?